And the myth, the legend, Eric Weinberger is in the building, baby. What's happening?
How's my framing? Feels a little tight here. I can't believe how long it's taken for me to allow me on this show.
Oh, okay. I'm so glad you brought that because I thought you would say that. Can I give you the dates that I sent you the link to come on the show? Are you ready?
Oh, you've got them recorded?
Well, I have them documented right here. February 22nd, August the 22nd, August the 21st, February 1st of last year. Don't, baby, I've been wanting you to come on now.
I was busy. I know.
Don't say
this is the perfect week, though. This is the perfect week we saved it for.
It is because it's NFL draft week, and
right.
You're the man, the myth, the legend who started the NFL Network. Let me I'm giving you the open floor, Eric. We talked about this in the pre-show stuff. How did this all come about? So this week, everybody and their mama will be watching the draft. College people, NFL people. It's one thing that brings everybody together. How did all this come about? How did you start all this?
So ESPN started it. Okay. Right.
Okay.
Our goal at the network, just like you do every day and your fans do every day, football doesn't stop. Right. So our goal after the Super Bowl was, how do we fill the time from the Super Bowl till kickoff? So we started exploring the combine. This is my favorite time of year by far. I mean, season's great. Sunday mornings are great. Saturday nights are great. But the draft this week, I mean, I get chills. I get goosebumps every Monday before draft week still. I left in 2000. I left the league in 2015. 06 is when we really started. We brought the full crew, Mayock, Eisen. We brought everyone to be side by side with ESPN.
ESPN, right.
And that was just the best. Scheftner was there.
Which you hired at one point in his career, correct?
I hired Adam. in 03. He was part of the original group that was on air for NFL Network. Eisen was first. Kara Henderson, Seth Joyner, Ken Norton Jr., and Scheftner. It was really
lineup. What a lineup.
It was great. It was great. And Adam was, Rich, who still is, I think he's doing this must be his 17th draft that he's doing.
Right.
So he's been the mainstay at the network. But Adam, what a beast he was at the beginning. I mean, and what a beast he is now. And today it's perfect timing to come through it today that on air he announces the Rodgers deal. but I'm so curious, for guys like yourself, young guys like yourself, what did Adam and that whole football insider movement, what over the last decade has that meant for fans like you guys?
Well, for me, okay, as a 16-year-old kid who just got his first offer, okay, in 2006, when you were talking about, seeing Adam Schefter go on, come on and says, "Hey, the Lions are going Calvin Johnson," and the pick's not even in.
Yeah.
Well, how do you know that? Okay, well, obviously he knows because of sourcing, and I'm like, you know what? And watching guys hug Roger Goodell, that's just a motivating factor because Eric, I come from a single parent household. Right? I wanted to be up there. So then you're seeing your guys who are getting drafted. And then the craziest thing of all time happened when you guys launch and you're there and you're doing everything, the trash talking started. EJ Manuel's going to the first round with the Bills. Who in the world would draft him first overall with their pick? So it was just all of the atmosphere. And then what something will lead to, it was just the entire week.
Yeah.
Right. Everything's building up for the week when Reggie Bush isn't going number one overall. So as a New Orleans and Louisiana, y'all broke the news and Scheftner broke the news. Mario Williams was going number one overall to the Texans and Reggie Bush was going to be a New Orleans Saint, which you know what happened there. So long answer short, that's where I think a lot of people.
So remember in 06, it was still Saturday and Sunday, the draft.
Right.
So I don't know when we moved it to Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But it was Saturday, Sunday, right? For the first couple of years, we moved it to Radio City. There's a couple amazing things. I think one of the things you and I have always talked about was, especially at the draft, how much information is being passed to the insiders or to back in the day, people used to think Chris Berman was getting it in his ear who the pick was. Okay. So there's a couple things. The players know they're getting picked like 5 or 10 minutes before the pick actually happens. I don't know if you remember 06, 07, 08. We used to cut to the green room.
Right.
When the player was getting, like, Vernon Davis was bawling, crying before the commissioner came up and made the pick. We put an end to that at around 08, 09. And there was a lot behind the scenes that went into that. So we put an end to cutting to the green room when those kids got the phone call. We wanted Commissioner Goodell's announcement to be the first time you heard the pick, even though the player already knew. And so since the player knew, Adam and Chris Mortensen would learn also. So I think it was about 07, 08. I used to have Adam perched up to the front of Radio City Music Hall right by the stage. So he would be right in front of where Commissioner Goodell would walk out.
Uh-huh.
And about the first 12 picks before Commissioner Goodell got up there, I would cut the camera down to Adam, and Adam would say, okay, with the 8th pick is going to be whoever. I think by about the 12th pick, Commissioner Goodell walked by Adam and whispered, tell Weinberger to stop. You guys got to stop tipping the pick. So much to the argument. There was so that offseason, it took another year to produce the draft. That offseason, myself, the league, ESPN, we argued back and forth because a lot of people are thinking, but it's journalism. So Adam's finding this stuff out on his own. Mort's finding it out on his own. And I was saying, we've got to hold it. So you'll notice now, you won't know the pick. It's even banned from Twitter at this point. I mean, you want it. I think the TV audience wants to hear it from the commissioner. And now that moment, like you talked about, that moment has gotten so special between the commissioner and the player, right?
No doubt. No doubt. Well, and I think too. So I think it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. No, maybe even more than that. The year that Baker Mayfield went #1 overall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Nobody knew. Nobody thought he would go #1 overall. Right. And Eric, I got to tell you, when Goodell read off Mayfield, I was mortified. I was beside myself.
Mm-hmm.
Had no idea there was going to be him. Go ahead.
You know, another reason we did it too, though, then there were years like Brady Quinn sitting in the green room forever.
And Rodgers.
Yeah, but the Brady Quinn one was the painful one. Actually, Johnny Manziel waited too, and that became our highest rated show ever because he didn't go till the 20s, right? So people kept waiting.
Right.
So from a television standpoint, you're saying if one of these big names drops, people will keep tuning in. When Brady dropped and it was really painful, I mean, it started becoming painful, right? And right. I think he was with his girlfriend and he's such a great guy. And that was all. We were also trying to prevent that also, even though like for a lot of TV producers, it's like, that's gold. Right. But, you know, it starts becoming like these are 22-year-old kids. Like this is, you know, we just got to kind of protect them a little bit. But it's the most fun ever. The draft is the most fun ever. Do
you think they should bring it back or no?
Bring what back?
The green room, like seeing guys not getting picked.
I don't think so. I think we've moved way past that. I think moving these to these outdoor venues has moved on to something else. I actually sometimes think it's almost for TV. It's almost too big at this point. You know, but it's out of the stable now, right? I mean, it's not getting pulled back.
Yeah, well, and even now, I mean, somebody will leak it on Twitter, and people, you know,
this one has a huge chance to become a massive rated draft with 4 QBs. Even if they go, you know, 1 through the top 8 picks, which they might do, it's still, when you have 4 quarterbacks of this level, I mean, it's going to bring a lot of attention to the draft.
Well, even Eric, I mean, what if one of them falls?
Yeah,
you know, like
which one do you think will fall?
I said this.
You think CJ will
on Ruffino and Joe show? I always thought it would be Stroud.
Yeah.
And I've been on record for that for probably 3 months.
You've been talking about that for a while.
I've been talking about that for a while, basically because I talked to someone at Houston and I talked to someone in Carolina that I played with. They've been there, and basically they told me when they got in the room with him, he was on the board and just personality-wise, nobody liked him. Then the opposite happened for Will Levis. People were saying, like, one owner told a scouting department, I don't care what you got to do, find out everything you need to know on Will Levis, period, and go back and reevaluate him. And that's when I was kind of like, oh, okay, well, this might be something serious.
Yeah. Tell me one thing. I'm going to flip this for a second.
All right.
You know how I feel about you, and you know how I feel about what you're doing down there and what you're doing with your guys down there.
Thank you.
How'd you start doing this? Because I'm fascinated by what you, what Joe, what the charity stripe, what Johnny Lazarus with the Rangers, what so many of our hosts do. But tell me how long you've been doing it. Like, just quickly, give me a little bit of, because no one asks you. But tell me how you started doing this.
LSU was firing Les Miles.
Yep.
Okay. LSU lost to Auburn, and a prominent LSU beat reporter said Les is not getting fired. Okay. It came out and said LSU has said that they're not getting fired.
So when is this? This is
2016.
Yeah.
Okay. At the position and place that I was at the time, I was with an official who told me that was a crock of crap. And I know the detail service that brought him from where he was to LSU to retrieve his stuff.
Yep.
I go out on Twitter and say these 3 words. Four words. Les has been fired. Okay, officially. Well, the tweet went viral.
And you knew it.
And I knew it. I just knew it. So
okay.
then fast forward, I started the podcast. Then COVID happens. You know, I had some breaks in between it. COVID happens, and everybody's just sitting at home. And I literally just told my wife, like, I'm going to do this. I'm going all in. All my chips are in.
Well,
and that's how it all started. Dad didn't look back yet.
And you're crushing it.
Yeah.
You're crushing it. You do a really nice job, man. I'm always, this is what I love doing it. I love stumbling. Everyone loves stumbling across sort of new talent. And it's just, I just keep encouraging you and people all over like you. There's so many opportunities now to do this stuff. And, you happen to be in a fan base that's just, it's incredible.
Well, even Eric, I mean, the simple nature, and you know this, okay, because you've hired guys, like you have relationships in business. I legitimately know 15 coaches that I played with that are in the SEC.
Yeah.
Like 1, 2, 3. 4 of them were in our wedding.
I always wanted to do a draft. I always wanted to break into separate draft shows per team. So, but per college. So I had pitched an idea that we do Alabama, Texas, LSU, Georgia, and Clemson. And we either do it from their campuses, but the draft has still just hit, I think, the tip of the iceberg. I think what we're doing at Bleav, what we're going to do by doing 32 draft shows. So right. Giants always talking about Giants, Seahawks always talking about Seahawks, because I know it from the research. Like, I know that after the Vikings pick, the Viking fans want more Vikings in. They don't care about the next pick. Right. But I also think there's an untapped in the SEC, in the Big Ten. For those, you guys want to talk about who your next 4 quarterbacks are. So once your wide receiver gets picked, who are the other 5 wide receivers who are still there? I just think there's so many different directions that we could all go with what we have here.
No doubt. And you know what's crazy about it, Eric, what I learned last year. So remember last year, me and Mike Uva, who's with Bleav, he does the South Carolina show.
Yep.
So we did it 4 hours and 27 minutes. I'll never forget it as long as I live. And when some of the LSU guys start falling, so I thought during the night our numbers would, just drop. It's getting later. It's a Thursday, whatever. Well, when LSU dudes started dropping, the numbers kept climbing. They kept climbing.
What do you mean? Oh, when they kept dropping in the draft.
When they kept dropping in the draft, our numbers.
That's what you want.
Our numbers, because look, we have 300 people in here right now. And to all 300 people, you better like, share, and subscribe. But when something bad happens, and what gets caught up in the media, people just start to like it.
Yeah.
And that's where people get their jollies off. Let me ask you this question.
Yep.
Best NFL network or best NFL story that you have? Go.
Oh, man. Best story we have. You didn't prep me for that one.
I didn't. I wanted it to be natural.
I think I think Mayock, I'll keep it to the draft. I think Mike Mayock, I think he predicted in his mock draft that Aaron Rodgers, if he didn't get picked first overall, he was going to end up. Did he end up number 24 to the Packers?
Yes.
So he said if he doesn't go 1, he's going 24 to the Packers. That was an amazing moment.
Man, I loved him so much. I hated that he did. I love him so much too.
Yeah, I want to get him going again. I think he did some playoff games on radio. I think these guys, they take a big shot, right? They take a big shot going off of TV and getting into that fire. I mean,
right.
No one knew these players better than Mike. No, listen, Daniel Jeremiah, who we hired, he's amazing.
DJ's a dude too.
DJ's great. DJ played ball, and he was great with Joe and Matt Sims last week. But Mike was different. And he really, for those 5-6 years, we were aggravating ESPN at that point, because not only were we there, Mike had a way of really cutting to it, right? He really had the way he delivered, right? He really cut to it. And that Rodgers thing, that was a great story for us.
No doubt. And just the simple nature of who he went to, him falling the way that he did. And that's, again, I mean, I will never forget that draft as long as I live. I remember exactly what Aaron Rodgers was wearing.
Yep.
He was wearing the black suit, the pinstripe suit. He had on a purple tie, and his hair was spiked up, and he was clean cut. Yep. And I was like, that dude is falling like a bad habit, which is crazy, on the day that he happens. Let me ask you this. A couple more for you, Eric.
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Come on.
You had some massive personalities.
Mm-hmm.
You had Warren Sapp, who, by the way, happy anniversary to Warren Sapp next week on our interview. That was amazing.
Oh, you got to get him back.
I do.
We got to get him back.
But Marshall Faulk, what was it like from an executive role like yourself with those massive of personalities?
They were. They made it easy. Okay, they made it easy in the respect that, first of all, what people with the football players, the Hall of Famers, they're Hall of Famers because they were always on time. They wanted direction. They wanted critiques. That's how they got to be the best, right? Warren showed up for every production meeting and every show. He'd be 5-10 minutes before every show, before every meeting. Marshall, I remember Marshall. I was a young guy. Marshall looked at me and he said, "Eric, you need to tell me. Don't let me guess where to be, when to be there, what to do. You need to tell me what to do."
Mm-hmm.
Now, that being said, also, okay, they challenged me a lot. So, we had a point where it was Eisen, Mooch, Sapp, Irvin, and I had been.
To cut you off.
Yeah.
It was the GOAT of GOAT panel.
It was a good show, right?
It was a GOAT.
It was a good show for a couple of years. And we had Michael too, who's still there with Rich and Mooch, but that group of 5 was pretty special. And
it was football's Barkley and Shaq.
Yeah, they were having a good time. Warren was so good, and Marshall knew every position, which was rare from the running back position. That's rare to find a running back who does know the game the way Marshall knew it. So a lot of running backs, when you're casting them on these shows, some of the running backs just don't have a full grasp of what the quarterback's doing. I mean, Marshall, held Peyton Manning's hand his rookie year.
Right.
Marshall knew the running game, the passing game. I mean, he did it all. So it was great. It was great. They were big personalities. They were tough. They were tough on me, but they were champions, man. And they just wanted to win and be coached and do the best job that they could do. And they did it.
I'm gonna leave this last question open for you.
Yeah.
If you basically what I'm just asking in a very general question, is this the best week in sports?
I mean, I love it. I love this month. I've always loved this month when you got that first round of hockey, first round of NBA, and now with UFC, how big that's gotten. So you always have a big fight every Saturday night. Used to have like a couple big boxing, a couple big fights.
Ryan Garcia and
the draft, the Derby. There's just so much going on. I love it. I like this time of year better than any time of year.
Well, I outside of the first weekend in September, April, May is my favorite because look, I'm a Yankees fan. Baseball's kicking off. Why is Judge hitting 289?
What a freak! What a freak! You're a Yankee fan too.
Oh, I'm a freak.
Yeah. Hey, at what point can you show us with your camera what else is going on down there? Like, when can you pull that camera out? Show us the basement or show us whatever room you're in.
All right, hold on.
Come on.
Hold on. All right.
What's it going to be?
So we got 2 weeks. 2 weeks, and it's official.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready? This is just a small sample size. LSU has a guy that's going number 1 overall.
Yep.
Baseball.
Yep.
So this is getting hung right here.
Oh, decorations you're putting up. Got it.
Signed, sealed, delivered. My man Joey B over here. Got one from him.
Bring Carter in. Can you bring him in too? Can you bring 3 of us in at once?
Yeah, I can bring 3 of us in at once.
Bring him in real quick, man.
Carter, you ready? Thumbs up if you're ready.
Dude,
hold on 1 second.
Now he's ready. Now he's ready. I just want to get a quick one with him.
All right, so now we got Carter, Eric.
Carter, you do a hell of a job too, man. You guys do it. You guys just do a great job. And Carter, what's your guys' story?
What do you mean?
Like, how do you guys know each other?
Connect?
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, don't remember.
So Eric, I had on. We talked about Warren Sapp. So it's about the same time I met Carter. People told me to bring him on. We did. We had a show that had 27,000 views and listens, and I told Carter, and I was like, "Listen, me and you are going to do a Monday morning segment every Monday, pretty much."
Yeah,
so that's how it happened.
I honestly don't remember. It just kind of happened.
Well, Carter, you do a heck of a job too. You guys just got to keep doing it. And the thing you stepped on also was after the women's national championship game, you went live and probably had one of your biggest days you've ever had.
It was by far the biggest day. It's going to be over 100,000 total views and listens.
It's unreal.
Yeah. So so this weekend I interviewed Michaela Williams, and I talked to her dad. She's a 5-star recruit, number 1 player. So I talked to her dad, and I told him that, and he was just like blown away by that. I was like, man, it's women's basketball took that next step. You really felt something different. It truly was crazy.
And you guys paid respect. You were on at the right time. No one else was doing it. You did it, and you paid respect to the team. But also, it's a hot sport, right? People love it. I love it.
The simple fact that I talk women's basketball recruiting, and it is the biggest show that we've ever done. When LSU won a national title is ridiculous.
Yeah, you guys are a clinic for what young people and what people doing now. Like, you could do 1 show a week if you want, but if you really want to get going, you got to do 5 shows a week, 6 shows a week. You got to go on after national championship games. You just got to do it. And then, and then you hope Coach JB does it. We got a bunch that are doing it, but I listen, I hope I didn't bring your viewership down today.
You did not. Look, they loved it. They loved it. They said,
I just love what you guys do. I'm really proud of you guys.
Menard said, great interview. I'm locked in over here.
Yeah.
So, no.
Listen, draft. I got a couple other stories for you another time.
Okay.
We found some great talent, too, at the network, man. We found some great Marcellus Wiley, Trent Dilfer. I had Gruden on a draft before he left for ESPN. That's a hilarious story. Who else did you guys like that was on the network? I mean, Nate Burleson is probably